I was good, y'all. So today I'm gonna be talking about why you should be separating your carbs and fat and how mixing your meals is making you fatter and weaker. But first, let's get to the core issue: clean eating. Alright, so nowadays more people just throw everything into one meal: chicken, rice, avocado, maybe some olive oil if you're extra fancy. And then they say they eat clean, but they don't realize what matters just as much as what you eat is when you eat it. Okay? And how you combine things. You've probably heard the term balanced meal from your stupid doctor. That's a mainstream idea of combining carbs, protein and fat in one go, but the problem is your body doesn't process nutrients in a vacuum. When you mix carbs and fats in the same meal, you're asking your metabolism to multitask. And it's not a fan of that, okay? It's not, it doesn't fucking enjoy that. Over time, this messes up with your insulin sensitivity, causes fat gains, slows down nutrient partitioning, and leaves your hormones in a sluggish state. The real key to better gains and less fat isn't eating less, but eating smarter and eating healthy, no shit. So now let's get into some theory. When you eat carbs and fats together, you're sending mixed metabolic signals. And your body responds with a worse compromise: store everything, right? And when I mean store as body fat. So let's unpack it. Carbs trigger insulin, okay, which is the most anabolic hormone. And there's only two anabolic hormones, okay? Testosterone, DHT, growth hormone. The only real anabolic hormones are insulin and IGF-1. And if you had to choose one, insulin is the most anabolic, but anyway. So yeah, it triggers insulin, the most anabolic hormone in your bloodstream, but also the most anti-fat burning, okay? When insulin spikes, it shuts off lipolysis, which is the fat breakdown, okay? Fat oxidization into fucking glycogen, I think. So it shuts off lipolysis at the mitochondrial level. So the fat you just ate, it can't be burned or partitioned into, fucking ligaments, tendons, your brain, hormones, whatever. It's prioritized for storage, so you're packing it as subcutaneous body fat. Well, not necessarily subcutaneous, but anyway, as body fat. Fat, on the other hand, doesn't spike insulin, just like protein, but it delays gastric emptying, slowing how fast your carbs hit the bloodstream. And that sounds good until you realize it blunts the insulin spike just enough to dampen amino acid delivery and muscle protein synthesis. You get less fat burnt and less muscle built. Now you're also creating energetic confusion. Insulin wants to shuttle glucose into the cells, but fatty acids are now floating around too. Your cells can't burn both efficiently, so the default burn their carbs, store the fat. Worse still, the anabolic signaling pathways are misaligned. mTOR, the pathway for muscle growth, thrives on spike and crash energy signals. Clean, sharp insulin surges from carbs and amino acids. But fat intake blunts that spike, leaving mTOR half stimulated. Meanwhile, AMPK, the energy conserving fat burning pathway, gets suppressed too. So you're not activating growth, but you're not burning fat either. You're stuck in a metabolic limbo per se. By separating carbs and fat, you give your body the clarity of carbs per protein, clean insulin spike, strong mTOR activation, muscle growth. Carbs per protein, stable insulin, active lipolysis, and fat metabolism, lean gains. Train in this state and you become more anabolic when you want to be, and fat burning the rest of the time. That's what metabolic efficiency looks like. Now there's also insulin resistance, which I mentioned before and I covered in the last video. And insulin resistance isn't just a fat loss problem, it's an anabolic killer. It reduces nutrient delivery to muscles, slows glycogen uptake, and lower protein synthesis. I can't fucking articulate today. And keeping carbs and fats together can also increase the GLUT4 transporter efficiency, making your muscles more responsive to carbs post-workout. And fat slows down gastric emptying, like I said before, which can also delay amino acid delivery when eaten with protein, so your post-workout meal should be low-fat, carbs plus protein. Also, when insulin is high, fat oxidization is suppressed for several hours. If you want to actually burn fat, don't spike insulin during that window. So what's the lesson that we learned today? Separate your macros. So what's the solution? Here's the protocol. You're going to be eating carbs and protein for high output windows. So basically right before and right after workouts. And then the rest of the fucking time, you're only going to be eating fats and protein for the output windows. So resting time. Literally, unless you're going to work out right after or you just worked out, no carbs, okay? Only fat and protein. And avoid combining carbs and fats in the same meals unless bulking extremely aggressively. But bulking is also kind of a scam. I'll make another video about it. But even then, be smart with timing, okay? So this is going to be improving nutrient partitioning, insulin sensitivity, and it's going to reduce the fat storage while keeping anabolic signals high. So what's some real world evidence? Many shredded physiques, like bodybuilders and shit, they follow carb timing, they time their fucking carbs and shit. And they do all the shit like vertical diet, I don't know what the fuck that is, carb backloading, etc. And many old school bodybuilders instinctively did this. So they mainly ate steak and eggs in the morning, rice and chicken later. They never mixed it really, so they kind of did this by accident. And anecdotally, those who separate macros often report better digestion, leaner gains, and more stable energy. I can myself attest for that. And even fasting mimics this effect. You know, I'm also making another video about fasting, but that's gonna be a long ass fucking video because oh my goodness, fasting is goated and it's so undertalked for hypertrophy. And anyway, so even fasting mimics this effect. One fuel source at a time keeps things tight. No need for a stupid study to tell you this. Try it, you'll feel leaner, more pumped, and less bloated within days. Could be just placebo. Not really. Like, you take some fucking photos. I don't know. Study your own fucking body, bro. Like, it's not gonna be a placebo. So what to do more precisely, you know, just in case there's, you know, a couple of you who aren't the sharpest tool in this shed, let me repeat it once again. Structure your day around fuel zones. Carbs plus protein around training. So right before, right after. Fats plus protein literally any other fucking time. So on when resting, pretty much, okay? Be intentional. Watch how your body reacts. Start small so you can... Actually, no, that's stupid. Why the fuck did I say that? So start big. Try one day of separation and feel the difference, you know. Could be placebo. Probably not, okay? If I was a betting man, it's not a fucking placebo. And you know the fucking science, the theory and shit, like it makes sense anyway. Like it's a real fucking phenomenon. What I'm saying by placebo, within the short term, it could be a placebo. In the long term, obviously, it's fucking not. Fuck. So conclusion: you're not just what you eat. You're what you eat and what your body does with what you eat. Okay. So separate your carbs and fat. Let your body do one job at a time. Okay. And you'll be rewarded with more muscle, less fat, and better performance, better digestion, etc., 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 etc. Also, I made an Instagram and a TikTok so that I can increase the reach. Okay, so follow it if you want. It should be right here.
Dumbass motherfucker.
Here. Yeah, so follow that. I mainly made it just to fucking increase the reach. I'll be posting clips and shit so that way you don't have to rewatch all of my videos. And unless I know you in real life, like if I know you in real life, do not fucking follow it because I don't want that shit to be suggested to the people we know. Okay, so Rod and you know woman, do not follow that shit.